All right. Dope. We are here. We have survived the great transition from opening screen to main screen. Will they survive more? Tune in the next 30 seconds to find out. Or something like that. I don't know. Whatever happens here happens. You know, it's not like we ever plan these things. Anyway, welcome everybody to another episode of Age of Myth, where we play a Greekified, a Hellenified, Dungeons and Dragons. Whoa! Mayday.
That's what we're playing tonight?
Yeah. It's okay. The caffeine will kick in momentarily, I'm sure.
Don't feel bad. I walked into a coworker's office and I said, "Oh, do you have the remote?" Phone. Phone, do you have the phone?
Do you have... I mean, it could be a remote.
Well, she didn't call him dad or anything.
Father. Yeah, Father, do you know where the remote is? Oh my gosh, that brought back a lot of memories.
What memory?
Looking for the remote and asking my dad if he knew where it was.
Okay.
Literally,
That's a dumb question. But
literally that.
Have you checked your butthole?
No, it's more of have you checked the couch? And or I didn't use it last, you did, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that was me.
Aaron, have you been spying on my family life? Because that is a daily conversation.
No, but that I think is the conversation of most families. After the invention of the remote was, where is the remote? And that's like a whole TV show.
Repeatedly threatened to glue it to like a 2x4 so we don't lose it.
It's not a bad idea.
put some Velcro on a spot
Also doesn't
and
work.
on the remote.
It's never going to get back on that spot.
That's the problem. It's not going to
That
go
for sure
there.
does not solve your problem, but
Glue it to a child. You always know where the child is. One would hope.
You would say that. You say that. However, you never know.
Just have a virtual assistant do it, whose many of their names I will not utter. So as
No,
not to
yell them to see
punish
whose
anyone.
room yells back.
That shouldn't be anybody's, I would think. Maybe not. Who knows?
Alexa, ask Google.
I
Somewhere.
can't hear you. I'm on headphones.
Ask Google if Siri knows.
Nothing, dear.
Oh no! Don't start that argument. I've seen a couple of videos.
That's how you invent a tet, isn't it?
Is Chris suddenly like, yes, let's do it?
Oh, good old Iskra. Well, enough shenaniganizing. We are already more than halfway through August. Wild.
Wow.
I know. I was writing down the number 820 today at work, and I was like, oh my god, how are we already on the 20th of August? How the heck? But also, please get it done faster, because it's hot, and I'm ready to be done with the hottest month of the year here in Texas. Oh my god. It's too much. But yeah, that's exciting. And then, hopefully we'll get cool in about 3 to 4 months. For about 1 to 2 weeks, and then it's back on the train again.
If you ever want to come for a visit, Aaron, it was 70 freedom units today.
Shut up.
Yes,
Pretty
but
beautiful in
but
Chicago.
when it gets cold, how cold does it get there?
What's that in actual science degrees, though?
I don't know, man.
I wish we knew actual science degrees. It's like the stupidest formula. It's like times a decimal plus a number. And I don't remember what it is.
21.
21 sounds nice. I can do 21. At least I could put a jacket
That's
on.
the science units conversion. It gets well into the negatives at night.
That sounds nice also, because then I can always bundle up. There's always bundling up. Taco.
It is
don't
cozy.
Actually, yes, but no. I do wish I was 21, but I don't wish I was 21, because that was a rough time. If I had the knowledge that I do now, then yes. But if I had to revert to 21-year-old me, maybe not.
That goes without saying. You gotta keep the knowledge.
Yeah, that's the monkey
You know
paw.
what? Sign me up. I'm good.
I'll do it over. Woo! Let's get on the ride again.
Now, if we can introduce some Doctor Who regeneration logic into this, okay. Now we're having a conversation.
Kind of the same person, but a different one.
No, that's a different kind of Doctor Who logic. Okay. Tomorrow, vampires. They suck. And they also do.
They
things,
will tomorrow.
And they also do things after dark. And what else do vampires do?
We're gonna find out tomorrow as our
Create fake
fledglings.
IDs.
No, you don't create fake IDs. They're created for you.
Right,
So-
but vampires, I didn't say that we did.
Mm. Although I'd like to see you
Vampires.
try now. But yes, after they've
I wasn't
finally got
claiming anything.
loose, they finally got loose from the local safe haven, they're allowed to go into the city and get into trouble finally. And they're gonna find out what it's
Wow.
like to feed in a new city.
Why would they get into trouble? I'm sure everything will be completely fine.
Let's
The
all fuck
sheriff
around.
would like to know where you are.
This trick question: the sheriff knows your location.
It's that idea that as soon as you put down the phone, they're just face to face with you.
Hello.
Hola.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central, I think.
Yes.
Okay. I was like making sure I was like not in, I don't know, not in scientific.
minutes?
1900
Yeah.
hours.
Freedom minutes. Freedom minutes. Yeah. That one. Okay. And then I have nothing else. That was it. All right.
Then
I
the
think
next week we're back to hell.
Then we're back at it again.
Today is
Oh.
1 year in ancient Greece. Also,
1 year.
on Saturday, it's Tara's birthday. Nope, Saturday. Yes, Tara's
Yes.
birthday.
No.
Minute
Yes.
of panic. I was visualizing my calendar where it's written. I was like, oh wait, was it? So yeah, happy early birthday.
Happy.
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being 21 again.
I brought a
I was
wrench
gonna
to
say, I think
commemorate
you're-
Rachel Welter.
finally turning
because
21?
she was the first character we played together where you were someone in the group. So
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna do, but I decided against it, was that I was going to sort of cosplay background your character from was that Feywild Carnival campaign where your head exploded?
Oh, Bari.
Oh, beautiful.
It was just gonna be the like the looping gif from Scanners with the guy's head exploding. But I thought that might be a little too much for Twitch.
I'm sure it's fine.
We got do you have the mature content filter on? It'd be fine.
Yeah, we're
we
about to
needed-
probably should
needed that
consider
last week.
Phoebe at
we're
the
about
best.
to introduce cannibalism to this story. So,
That
Correction,
is
it has been introduced.
well, it
that is a bunch of hearsay. All you are going off of is the knowledge of one person. You don't know.
Who hasn't
He's
said it
pretty
yet.
smart.
also for we are 15 days into this story.
Really?
Yep.
Let's pretend not.
Oh my god.
Yep. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
D&D, everybody.
I thought vampire was taking its time.
Nope. It's been a really wild 2 weeks for you guys, but it's been 2 weeks. Oh.
It's okay. We're feeding into a stereotype.
Anyway.
Phoebe and Smisto specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think that is about it. So we'll go ahead and get into tonight's episode of Age of Myth.
Journal of Ma'al Saj'ul, 16th of Thargelion, Hemera Selenis, 1005 after the fall, continued. And so it was, while I was left to my own devices with the lovely Weaver family from Kemet, whose daughter, by the way, imparted on me much knowledge, wisdoms, and foresight into what was to come, that the young gods found themselves at the home of an elderly Athenian couple whom had taken in Oretano during his visit. A mistake I'm sure they regret to this day. Bless their souls. Themisto, the oracle-to-be, had found herself in the company of some rather distinguished individuals, members of the cult of Phobos. Using a guise of curiosity, Themisto tried to ply the dark prophet Orcos for what knowledge she was able to get. Clever Athena must have gifted her words of honey, and she learned from them a valuable fact. Phobos, the young god of fear, was in Thebes, or was to be met in Thebes. So Orcos claimed. This knowledge came at a price. For the Pythia to be then divine, something far more sinister was at work within this part of the cult. The young and fair individuals that accompanied and helped Orcos feed the poor, particularly the young man, seemed to be more than they let on. Meanwhile, outside the repurposed furriers, the sun-headed Phoebe was apparently beside herself with nerves for her companion, the poor girl. The level-headed Laertes spoke to the hobgoblin general, Pelios, who appeared to be a man of devout faith, having arrived here at the behest of Davos, one of the hobgoblin Spartans these young gods had rescued. Having heard the news brought by Davos that the Pythia in training had arrived in the city, General Pelios had brought a regiment of his own to bring her to the fortress atop the center of the city. We would later understand how each action in those early moments of our visit to the city of Sparta would lay a foundation for what follows. While those on the outside of the cult sanctuary decide that they are going to wait a few painstaking moments before attempting any sort of retrieval for their undercover companion, Oretano uses some of his Orphic ability and spies on the goings-on within the repurposed shop, moments before Themisto hurriedly sees herself out. Having told the Dark Prophet that she would try and procure transportation to see them to Thebes, Themisto fears reuniting with her companions, as she had told Orcos she had lost them along the way to Sparta. The young gods, after some time, indeed decide that maybe returning to the Weaver family that night would not be wise, and instead reunite at the home of Bardas and his wife Themalis. It is there that they plan for their next moves, and by extension, the lives of countless around them. Footnote: the cult of Phobos has questionable culinary tastes.
And so, as we get started here, Laertes, the energy that expels from you almost happens in slow motion as the wave of sparkling energy crashes against the bowl and sends it flying across the room and against the wall, where it shatters and spills across the floor. What do you do?
You see his hand is outstretched. There's never really coloration or sparkle, I've always imagined, with what he does. It's more of a warping. So there's still a visual effect, but not coloration. And there was this sharp warping distortion as he waved his hand out and smashed the bowl out of sight against the wall. And his hand is outstretched, shaking. And you see a mixture of rage and disgust that I imagine both of those individually are unique on his features, let alone in concert. And he's breathing faster, harder, and his hand is starting to tremble, and it's hard to tell if that's from just his usual issue or a symptom of the rage that he's feeling.
Laertes, what is the matter? And the Mister will lean in.
He wordlessly walks over to what he's done and crouches down to the expelled contents, shattered remnants. And when he turns and looks at them, and there is tears just streaming down one side of his face. This was a person. The food had to come from somewhere. The amount of people streaming into the city sent the population up. The need for food went up. Food had to come from somewhere. They were solving two problems.
Gods above. And giving this to the people.
There's
I wish I could not believe this, but
a shuffling sound, and Bardas comes around, wrapped in a blanket around his half-naked midsection. He's like, "Oh, well, everything okay? What? Oh,
Yes. Yes, Bardas, everything is fine. Do not worry. We will clean this up.
no, I couldn't let you.
No,
let
I
it-
couldn't.
No. Please.
I could not let you. Please go back to bed. We will deal with this mess.
There's in the door behind the kitchen there is a couple of extra things to clean, towels and basin and things. You know where to find the fresh water.
Yes. Listen, do apologize if the noise disturbed your wife.
Shh! I told her it was a cat. We don't have a cat, but yeah.
He turns around and walks back towards his room.
Cypress closes the distance between him and Laertes and gently but very firmly puts a hand on his shoulder. And
There's a slight flinch, like he forgot that other people were immediately nearby, but he doesn't jump or startle. This is more just he wasn't expecting it, and it's just this jump, and he kind of just relaxes into it.
they will die for this.
That only solves part of the problem.
It is the one that I know I can solve.
Aaron,
Mm-hmm.
other than that bag of offal, I sensed nothing else amiss about it.
Mm-mm.
Just unwitting cannibalism is the mass unwitting cannibalism is what I've derived from that. Okay. There's been no poison attached to it on top of that. And no other manipulation, befoulment. Okay. Just wanted to be sure.
Just that it tastes very, very good.
Mm-hmm. But now that I've kind of sort of inverted some of those smells to neutralize what they were using to mask it,
Mhm.
how does it smell now? Imagine scattering it, sort of put some like atomized drops in the air so it's lingering a little bit.
Yes, the definitely the splashing of the contents of the bowl of stew on the floor has definitely increased the smell of it by quite a bit. It's kind of like when you take the lid off of a pot and you just like it smells.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't smell bad. It may not smell as appetizing. There may not be that like lingering like mouth salivating quality to it that it had before, but you're
Because
not
it
quite
doesn't smell like
sure.
a normal
But you're not.
meat.
I was gonna say it's not quite. You can't tell if it's because of the taking off of the layer of enchantment that had been on it, or if it's just your own knowledge of now what it is. It's more off. It feels more. It feels off-putting, but it doesn't still. It doesn't smell bad. It doesn't. It just doesn't smell as good as it did before.
Okay. It wasn't just that he's poisoning their souls with this act. He's been poisoning their minds with his words. Whether they're his or fed to him by his betters. We could take away the source. We could kill him and his entire retinue. But we have other work to do for the people.
I understand. But I would.
Oh no, they have to die.
And every second we delay is the risk of another. Of this.
Could be doing this to people right now. I only entered one room of that place.
I say we send a message to the army. And we assault the place.
I have to be careful. And she's gonna use really hushed tones. If the woman had a power, I must say again, over the minds of some of the men in that room, and almost over me. If we send an army after them, they may wind up under her control too. And the young man who stands beside Orcos, I believe he is the mastermind of this. There was a presence to him that felt as if cold water had been poured down my back.
Do we have any way to remove enchantments?
I am quite adept at breaking charms.
Excellent. I can remove fear in myself or others, and some poisons, but I don't know if I can stave off mind manipulation.
There's things I can do to disrupt what's been done. Perhaps interrupt it from happening. I think we need to split the difference. We may need to tell them, the army, that we're going to do something, but not to have a mass of soldiers storming into the place. It's too noticeable.
I already know that they intended to go with me to Thebes, so they may have a plan of escape. We should tell the army to, I don't know, secure the gates or something. What do armies do?
Even if they are not there to aid us directly, they must be alerted and we must act soon. We cannot let them spread this any further. Not here and not Thebes or anywhere else.
But every moment we delay. And he looks down at the broken bowl, its contents spilled on the floor.
Phoebe's been cleaning it up during this conversation, very intentionally with a cloth collecting the pieces of meat.
Mm-hmm.
I will bind this before we leave.
Maybe I need you with me for this. And by my side the whole time. There is a presence to them when the three of them are together that is overwhelming.
I would never leave you.
We think we can draw them out, even just a few feet from each other. Try and at least take out one of the three before moving on to the rest if that is necessary. I would never want to put you in harm's way, Misto. Certainly not. But if they expect you to be swayed, I wonder if you can even just draw one of them aside.
She said I would bring them a card. If I were to maybe get one from the Spartan army to bring to them. I don't know how I would draw one separate, but maybe.
A
Could
gift.
have one or two people under a blanket in that cart.
That sounds very appealing to me.
It sounds
I
very
like this
Trojan.
idea too.
You mean Ilum?
Yes. Well, the plan inspired by Laertes, I suppose. Yeah, being a Trojan himself, if an adopted one.
Do we think we should prioritize anything? We know the things that we know, at least that I know. We know what seems to be a base of operation, the house. You said that there were evil doings further inside. And unless they have already moved, we know that they are all three there. Still.
Well, I hate to ask this of you, Artano. I don't want you using up more of your energies than you can spare, but we should find out if they're there before we try and move in.
Yes, I can certainly help with that if we are intending to go tonight. That may pose a challenge for my ability to assist.
Can you describe any of their clothing or features of them, Themisto? In case they have moved, I can potentially try and do something similar that I have not before. As long as they are not too far away.
I can do one better. I can show you. And
Please.
I'll just minor illusion up like a little model of each one of them individually and turn it around a few times. Close-ups
Alternating
in on the
between
face.
orthographic and isographic and yeah, okay, cool.
Posing. Yeah.
I think you see Laertes finally kind of soften at least a tiny bit at the fact that someone else is doing an ability that he's very familiar with and using it in a similar way. And there's a part of that that, despite all the horror, brings a little bit of comfort in a way that he's not really able to explain.
Themisto, roll me a perception check for me.
Ah, yes. Cleo is always on a swivel.
Leo's putting in the work.
She is. I rolled a 17 on that dice, so plus my
Good job, Chloe.
perception. Let's
Cleo.
say, oh, she's going to bite you for that. 26.
Tara has reason to have that other name on them.
26.
Yes.
Ooh, very nice. Oretno's Orphic talents. Whenever he pulls the glitter from the air, these little green sparkles of like pixie-like dust that swirl about before they become these semi-translucent images on his hand. His eyes flicker green for a moment. Something about his skin seems to shimmer in the light cast by his own ability. It has similarities to the stuff that you, or the way your ability looks. And the sheen to his skin, for a brief moment, it's like, this is gonna sound very Baywatch, you know, like when skin is wet and like it catches the sun for a minute, or it catches light and it just kind of looks slick, but it doesn't not like he looks shiny.
Wet.
It's just,
Are you saying he's glistening?
yes.
Are you trying to tempt me?
There is a little bit.
Oretano, a very
He looks
vascular
wet.
man? Or...
There is a little bit of glisten to it, but it's only temporary as he's using his ability. And the glisten is not smooth, even though his skin looks smooth after the glisten. The glisten almost has a scale-like quality to it.
Ooh. I want to know how that specular highlight map works. I'm so curious now. Okay.
Magic.
sorry. Okay, Shia LaBeouf.
But it was just for
Do
a
we
moment
know-
as he's like doing that thing, and then it like fades.
That's pretty dope.
DM, we are, I imagine, more than 1,000 feet from the building that Themisto was inside.
Correct.
Gotcha. Well, when we are closer, I might make use of something. It might, but to explain both above table and below table, if we are close enough, judge it with the memory of that Oretano provided, I can tell whether or not someone is nearby, as long as it is so far away, so close. And I can tell where that object is. So if it's on their person, I can know if they are inside or elsewhere.
How close do you need to be to do that?
1,000 feet.
Good to know.
So it's a little limited, and my type of magic is more scarce than some of the rest of you. But it is a good use if we can determine whether any one of them are present.
Good point. Does Oretano still have the sweet 3D model going?
Yeah, can do.
Did either you or Themisto mention the sigil above the hearth and all that wackiness?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Can you enhance that part of the image?
Yeah, and this image of one of the individuals collapses and stretches out into a model of a room with the hearth in it, with the
I would
sigil
assume
prominently placed on the wall.
The easiest would probably be just doing the sigil itself.
It'd be the easiest.
I'm assuming this is minor illusion, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, do a 5-foot cube.
And the image
It's
moves, it
literally a
scales.
5-foot
Yeah.
cube. Oh my god.
It's
Yeah.
like playing what is it, Tailspire. He just sort of just shows
Yeah,
his
just a little bit
little
at a
model.
time.
As I look at that image, the sigil, all the things that are around, does anything kind of strike out to me as, I don't think we would use the word arcane in this setting, but maybe
Weird.
some manner of esoterica that might matter?
Make a Arcana check or religion,
Okay.
whichever one.
Definitely the first one. 25. I can't do a lot of things, but I
I'm
can
gonna,
do some magic math.
right. When it comes to these type of arcane runes, or sigils or designs, I'm gonna say that your experience is kind of unique, as that you know your own sort of thing, but the idea of others possessing the same ability, you have seen Themisto recreate some of your talents in a different sense. You have seen
It's
a
a
few
paradigm.
others. Yeah, so it's like you recognize. I will say you recognize the fact that this is indeed more than it appears. It is a drawing. It looks like it's almost a, to use a term, a slasher film style, like scrawling of ink. It doesn't hard to say if this is, what this is exactly, but it doesn't look like it was finitely placed with like a brush or anything. It looks almost like someone had hand dipped in paint and was just kind of scrawling something on the wall. There is a sense of like crazed artistic talent
Mania.
to it a little bit. It's just like slapdashed a little. With that 25, something about it makes your skin tingle in a unsettling sense. You haven't seen much in the way of what we're going to use as aberrational work, because there hasn't been too much of that. But if you had to take a guess, there's something to this, and it makes you stand on alert.
Okay.
about
As
it.
I've been studying abjurational things or rediscovering aspects of it and reverse engineering aspects for myself, is there some, like, if you look at my spell list, there's things that at least justify my line of reasoning here. Does it look like something that I can understand, not necessarily the full scope of, but some semblance of what it does, like at least a direction, rather than just a school?
Let me see here.
And I know we're taking a bit of time on this, so if you just want to move on, and that's good too. I don't want to park us on this for too long.
Nah, Laertes doing science is part of it.
Hold on, I'm looking up this thing again. Why can I not find what I'm looking for? What is the name of this? That's why I couldn't find find it. I would say I'll give you this. Give you a school.
Hmm.
Um,
We did say abjuration, so I figure that's the school, but
no,
more definitive
aberration,
direction.
not abjuration.
aberration. Oh, sorry, I
Aberration.
misunderstood.
You haven't seen too much in the way of aberrational
Oh,
like,
okay.
stuff, but this seems to give you that same vibe as the rest of like the plague and thing. It has that sort of like creepy quality to it. School wise, I want to say it's related to evocation. I'm having a hard time finding the actual spell.
Okay. Would it be easier just to say kind of the gist of what it does rather than the name?
This
Okay.
would not be something you ever have come across yet.
Fair enough. Okay.
Um,
But I know it does bad things.
it gives you your danger sense tingles a little bit. That something bad is. This is
Okay.
not a
Do
good. This is not
I-
a good thing.
So maybe I don't understand exactly what it does, but do I understand maybe how it's activated? Or if it's activated currently? Okay.
It
I have
doesn't
to
seem like it doesn't seem like it's doing anything. It's just
Mhm.
at the moment it's just the fact that it's you're gaining you're gaining knowledge that it's more than just slapdash
not
paint
decor.
on the wall. Exactly.
Yeah. Like this was ritualistically done for a purpose. Okay. It doesn't strike me at all as that sealed pillar circle back at Apollo's temple, does it?
No.
No, okay. Good to try. As I sort of sight out of this awesome illusion diagram, I'm just I'm not exactly sure what it does,
It is abjuration.
but okay.
I just found it finally.
Okay.
Aberrational. Abjurational.
That's why I was a little confused, but all right. It's I'm not sure if it's protective or preventative in some manner, but it seems intentional. It's not just decor, it's ritualistic. It's meant to cause some kind of effect. I just don't know what it is. I can't tell if it's already activated or if it's being fed by everything they've been doing. I don't know if it's connected to the state of the sky.
You've gleaned more than when I saw it. All I figured was it was religious in nature.
It can be two things. But if I can get in the room with it, I could potentially disrupt it. If we need to. Or at least learn more about it before I do that.
So, I suppose for the next part of our plan, we need to get that card from the Spartans. Let them know what is going on, and a blanket to cover a few of us.
All right to know. Do you think it would be possible to get a suit of plate armor?
What's that?
In general, or for free, or I'm sure
I
people
mean,
would pay for it.
I, above table, do not have enough to technically afford it as per the player handbook, but I do have a few hundred gold.
I may be able to.
Or, I don't know,
Help
if
you.
Spartan could lend us some. Not necessary, but
I may be able to help you convince a smith to give you a good deal.
it would have to be a pretty good deal. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. But thank you.
Cypress, if Laertes makes its way inside, don't let them out of your sight, okay?
Absolutely not. I mean, he's okay. Absolutely, I will not let him get out of my sight. And honestly, I think you all should try and stay close to me. obviously for me to take a decent amount of the aggression, but I think I might be able to protect you.
Well,
And you all do have a sense that your saving throws are a bit better when you are closer to him. You sense an aura.
something
Within
says
10
it's
feet.
better for the meta if I stand next to you.
Until the next patch update, and then
Yeah.
They're going to nerf this, so we have to use it before they do.
quick before they realize the abuse.
Never mind, Oretino. I used a cheat and now I have infinite gold, so money is no object.
If we
We're
stand
going
in
to
the
have
corner
to-
here, I think we can clip through this floor.
That would be
Yeah,
100%
everyone
something
thought
you would
that I
do.
was being. Everyone
Well,
thought
this
I was
is
being
not-
foolish jumping over the building. I was
If you
trying
just
to
run
no-clip.
straight at the wall in just the right place.
This is Destiny cheesing the corner of one of those maps, isn't it?
Jesus.
We call this the exploit move. So what is
I
our
also
order of
have-
operations?
Well, I have some things that I can do that will help anybody be a little bit more durable.
Hmm.
And last for a good while. Probably best, though.
Laertes could use it.
Yeah. I think I can get... Well, I think I can get 3 people with it at the same time.
Well, the order of operations as I see it, first we get a cart and we alert the army. If they want to make an assault with us, we make that plan then, but I do think it is perhaps ill-advised to, with them, storm the place, but perhaps have them create a perimeter or stop there being an escape.
Close the
But-
gates.
Close the gates, and we try and infiltrate, but we, as soon as possible, try to destroy the 3 of them in particular.
Yes, or take them to face Spartan justice.
If we can do so peaceably, if there's enough of them left to bring, yes. But it might be a case of we have to do what's necessary in the moment. I don't want to kill them in
course.
cold blood, but I don't think this is going to be a moment of taking anyone quietly.
The thing I'm most fearful of is your report, Themisto, of mind control, of which I can offer some protection, but I can't cure it or prevent it from happening to myself.
If that woman is responsible for it, if she's the only one responsible for it, taking her out first might solve some of the problem.
I will ask Apollo and Gaia to make sure that no words pass her lips.
Did we ascertain, or do you think you could remember critically which one of them is a very fraught with problems question, but which one of them seemed to be the most frail?
That I could not
The
say.
only reason I ask is because if they are stronger together, taking out the weakest point of the triangle is probably the best option.
Themisto, your mind goes and replays the visions that you had seen earlier of the 3 of them. When Cypress talks about someone frail, though it may not be intentional, your mind starts to try and do a comparison between Laertes and any of the others that you saw in that room. The hard part was they wore the same robes that you remember the cult wearing before, even though they were like shredded and tattered versions of it. None of them really struck you as the type to be frail looking. If anything, they seemed stronger than they appeared.
Each of them has a power within them that is not like ours, but not entirely dissimilar. If that makes sense.
Enough. I say then her first, as she's the only one that we were able to determine has this dangerous power.
Yes, well, we should not linger here any longer.
We must go.
Perhaps if you're going to get a cart from the Spartan army, maybe they'll be keen to lend a bit of armor as I angle my head towards Cyprus.
That would be wonderful.
Even
to lend.
Be willing to wear the colors of the Spartans.
Certainly for the purpose of this very important deed, yes.
It should be noted, it is getting late at night.
Hmm.
Also, Sparta doesn't have walls. They do have, like, entryways into the city, like where the roads go in, but they are more like checkpoints to see who comes and goes, less so defensively.
So more so like where the main roads are, but they're not necessarily like closed,
Correct.
fenced off walls. Okay.
Well, I will leave that to the general to decide what
Well,
his
They
Let's
would
just
know how
do
best
get
to
them to run
cordon off
away.
the
No,
city.
that's good to know though.
Yeah, just so that you guys have the full information of
Mhm.
knowing what
Yes.
is and what isn't. We're talking like right now it's probably closer to like 11 p.m. Into the evening. So
Is it too dark to see?
it is pitch black outside. Outside of, remember, there's no light. Doesn't work the same right now. You have no
That's right.
you have no stars. You have no moon. Torchlight is dim light where it's supposed to be brightest, and dark black outside of that. The only reason you were able to see on your way back was the abundance of it closer to the inside of the city. And that's where there's like torches, like they even set up like miniature bonfires just to give themselves a little more semblance of light. But beyond that, we're talking pitch black outside of that range if you do not have light on you. It was also part of the reason why the Spartans were trying to get people to go home, because right now is the most dangerous. People have gone missing. And there's not a lot they can do about it because they can't even see what it is that's causing that. It's still relatively new, all of this. So there's a lot of like, they haven't quite accounted for how best to defend themselves, but right now they're doing the best they can, and the best they can is to make sure everybody stays indoors when it's dark, and they have the guards like stay on the ground. It seems like anybody posted on rooftops are the ones that wind up disappearing.
Well,
Just so more this is more stuff that you would have like been
Yeah.
able to ascertain that we kind of talked about last time a little bit, but I don't think as went over as
This is a moment that I really wish Themisto had the ability to cast Dark Vision, because I have a really great idea for what a spell would look like from Themisto to do that. But sadly, it is not something that she can do.
just in case the plan remains, which, for one thing, perhaps that's what some of the Spartan soldiers could do, is at least bring torches. But the way I see it, unless one of us is willing to hold a torch through most of what would likely be combat, the danger of this will increase dramatically. If they are of godlike or fiendish or celestial or undead nature, then I will be able to perceive them for a short period of time. I will be able to tell where they are, but that is my window. I'm afraid I cannot see in pitch darkness.
If they're expecting you to show up, you can just have a torch or two on the cart as you're showing up.
Yes, I don't think they expected me to be as enterprising as to show up tonight. But I still could.
My worry
You-
is I see the logic of waiting till tomorrow to deal with this. But it gives them more time to plan, it gives them more time to potentially get away, and gives them more time to prepare another meal.
This is my fear too, but unless Themister's gonna try to long shot and she's going to take some incense dregs from her censer ball. So just the charred ashes, and take it and smear it underneath her eyes in streaks, and say, he makes the night is your domain, and though it is dark now, darker than usual, this is something that is home to you. Can you please help me to see? And that's just her little prayer to Nyx in this moment. It probably will not work. And I'm not going to spend another sending on it this time, so it's probably not gonna happen. But
Make a religion check.
it feels like something she would do.
Yeah. You're not doing ascending though, correct?
I am not doing ascending this time, which is usually how it works.
I myself could carry a torch. It would just need to be lit after jumping out of the
Isn't-
wagon.
Isn't it a matter though if it is currently advanced darkness, so a torch isn't really going to be that helpful anyway?
It'll just allow you to see whatever the range of the bright light is, which I think is like 10, 15 feet.
Let me see.
Let's see what a torch range is. Whatever the bright
It,
range is, it is dim.
20
Yeah.
It will require my active attention, but I may, if we're lucky, be able to cause our foes to self-illuminate. It may not be an issue.
Hmm.
It's just a 16 on the religion.
Wait. What if we even oil? First thing we do, throw it into the room. Start burning the building down.
I thought about raising the building to the ground myself, but my worry is we don't know who else is in the building, who's in the back room that we could rescue.
And there are at least 3 men under the charms, so I don't think they're there of their... They may have been willing at first, but not anymore.
We could bring about like 20 lanterns. Just throw them in front of us into the room so it'd be a little more difficult for them to turn it all off at
Anyway,
once.
I was praying, sorry, Lynn.
Sorry. I am willing to carry a torch instead of a sword. It would just mean that I'm not using a sword.
With a 16, you being a proficient prayer person, a person of faith, you remember hearing before the connection that you had had.
Mm-hmm.
There is a difference you're noticing when prayers are heard and when prayers are focused on. There's a little bit of a glimmer back when it is more than just acknowledged. It is a deeper feeling of connection. And this deeper feeling of connection, there's a little bit of unease and uncertainty. it's hard to place the feeling exactly, because it's hard to tell if this is something that is happening to you, a mirror of the feeling, something that is beyond just your own feelings, or if this is an actual you getting a feeling from them in return, if that makes sense. You don't think this is from you. This is their own almost anxiety. They don't even know what is causing this. This is not a realm of light and darkness of night. This goes beyond that.
She says my player said advanced darkness. No, I feel Nick's presence, but she is there to say she is scared. What should be under her power is not. And that is the feeling that I get. I privately reached out to her on our way here. And she told me that there were so many calling her name. I think that she cannot help.
I can leave my shield in the cart and carry a torch and a sword.
I do not think it is a wise idea.
You do not what?
Do not think this is a wise idea. We could waste all of our energy just crossing the city at night to fight whatever lurks out there.
There's another option. You're right. Doing it tonight is risky. We'd be wasting a lot of resources just trying to get there. So here's the thought. In the morning, or whenever it is they're going to start their service, since it seems that is common enough exercise for them, we get there early, call them out with a crowd, make their crimes known.
If they say bold claim without proof, I think the people will tend to trust them instead of strangers, not even from Sparta.
Well, that is
I
true.
have very few skills in life. Talking to a crowd is one of them.
DM, with our intel that we got last week, I can't remember, did they just pass out food at sunset, or was it multiple times during the day?
They've passed out food throughout the day. It just seemed like they did like a dinner thing.
Also, while that is true, Themisto, and I fear that the crowd's opinion of me is probably not fixable at this point, it matters less whether they initially believe us than simply stating the truth and confronting and stopping this enemy. And also, if they defend themselves, which I imagine they would have to be using great strength to do so, potentially exposing themselves in front of the crowd.
And we expose ourselves in front of the crowd.
And we put people at risk.
People are at risk if we wait tonight.
Nah, Malaka, there are no good choices. I am done with this.
I think you are right, Laertes. In that, if we do not decide to go tonight, which I would vote we do, but if we decide to not go tonight, we go at first light. Either straight to their building or straight to the center of town where we can conceal ourselves and wait for them to arrive.
Actually, we can split the difference that way. I know we're going in circles, I apologize. Hit the building at first light, deal with them. Then, as the people gather for the expected service, I can speak.
Yeah, and warn the Spartans.
Yes.
And maybe in the process we will finally discover what is stealing the sun.
Does this sound workable?
It does.
I looked at Themista, who has clearly had some very strong opinions.
She is ready to go to bed.
Fair enough.
Well, the sooner this night passes, the better. I say we all go to sleep. And pray that it's no darker in the morning.
Okay.
In the midst of all this conversation, because Phoebe stayed out of it mostly, I'm assuming there's like a fire in this room. Phoebe will have taken all of the meat from the soup wrapped up in a cloth, and she'll take a small coin and put it on top, and then put the pile into the fire.
Okay. Go for it, Laertes.
I'm sure she did a as thorough job as she could with mundane means. But Laertes is still, whether or not it's there or just his haunted perception of it, can either still see or still smell the contents in the room, and he's rolling that sort of indescribable sense of static over the floor, the wall, to just clean it up. Try and just erase not the person, not the memory of what it is, but just removing the stain of that sin from someone else's wall that had nothing to do with it.
Okay. You sizzle the ground. They said it was like that little bit of static that kind of goes like crackles across.
Ooh, like those videos of using a laser to clean metal.
Ooh.
It's really satisfying. It's cool.
I imagine it's less visual in the sense there's no like
Yeah,
actual show
yeah.
of static or sparks. It's just that rolling sensation of static electricity.
Yep.
That never reaches that crescendo pop that you always expect when you finally touch a metal surface.
Mm-hmm. Within moments of this, Phoebe, as you've placed the bits into the fire and placed the coin, you watch it burn away. Your mind goes to just the day before, having met Hades. Or no, 2 days before. Time is getting hard to tell, and there's a lot that's been happening. You watch the fabric burn away. Your eyes stay locked into the fire. The crackle, the burn. The movement of the flames in the hearth kind of starts to dance and move around, and you almost watch it slow as if in your own mind. I'll say Themisto because Themisto's probably looking in this direction a little bit, and then maybe even Oretno. You see Phoebe kneeling by the fire, and you see the fire begin to slow. It's burning, kind of just like, it's still doing its dance, but it's almost like you're watching it in a high frame rate of slow motion. It just kind of does a slower, more plasmidic swirl around it itself. You see the burning away of the cloth and the sizzling sound of the flesh, of the contents of that soup being burned away. You see the coin that sits on top kind of like tilt to one side and tilt to another side as it kind of falls down and everything starts to burn before the flames start to slowly pick up their dance again. Phoebe's hair seems to glisten a little in the light. And within but a handful of moments more, you guys find yourselves in the beds that you are sleeping in for the night. Ready to put this foul day behind you. We're going to say.
Only as like a Cypress going to bed type of thing. After doing his ritualistic nightly preparations of polishing off the armor, he crawls into bed, and as he closes his eyes, he calls out to Aphrodite. And in a very brief prayer. Aphrodite, those remains were a person, or more than one. And everyone who has had that terrible fate knew people and loved people and were loved by other people. If it is within your power and your desire, help me to protect others and avenge those who have fallen for the sake of love, and to defend the one that I love from this danger that heads his way. And he will close his eyes and go to sleep.
Okay. Phoebe?
I would like to pull Themisto close and start running my fingers along her back. Are you all right, my love? No, you're not.
Mace, I know that we have seen sad fates so far on what we have encountered, but Mace, it affects me. Having to go to sleep tonight knowing that they may be still continuing these works. And with the sun not present, and the things I had to say to have that audience.
Apollo knows the truth. So does Kai. I asked them to watch over you every moment you were there.
Yeah. I am so lucky to have you.
We will put an end to them tomorrow.
We will. Mister's just gonna squeeze her. Rest her head on Phoebe.
Phoebe will keep rubbing Themista's back until, even if it's not a deep sleep, as she falls a little out of consciousness.
Our snakes will start to nestle as well.
Okie dokie. Eventually, you settle into a sleep. And you all take a long rest. Even if it is a slightly disturbed one. The nerves the next day kind of tingle the heart and give you a little bit of that anxiety of not anxiety, adrenaline of being unable to sleep, knowing you have something to do in the morning, but eventually sleep takes you all. Yoink!
I would like to add 2 small things if
Sure.
possible. Very brief.
Very good.
Thinking back to the children of Asclepius, was that
Mhm.
the name? Okay. The advice he was given. He kind of does something that he doesn't normally do, where he's trying to solve 2 problems at once, because if he focuses on one, his mind's going to wander back to something he doesn't know what to do with and can't solve right now. So he has to busy his mind by giving it too many tasks. And he goes to the meditative exercise of sort of doing the inward microscopic view of the entire structure of himself, looking for those little faults and fractures that either were always there or just simply existing creates them. Not that he necessarily knows what to do with them as much as maybe trying to at least map it, get a sense of where he could even start. If there even is a point to finding a most logical place to start, if instead of just picking a place and going might be the easiest way. But that's one half of the brain. The other half is, ever since he left home and he went to Ilum to first learn and then becoming a teacher, most of his life has been filled with some form of debate, a conflict of ideas in public. And while it has been a while since he's done it, once that kind of skill has been learned, it just never really goes away. So his mind keeps wandering back from Dr. Heal Thyself to what are the words that he's going to be using if and when he gets to address the crowd? How can he expose not only the truth and the level of depravity of it, but find a way to take the shock and horror of it to make them see the light through all that darkness that is unyielding? How can he restore some sense of faith and normality without just breaking them further? And he dwells on that for a good long while. Not all of his problems are mathematical, but
Yep, that's true. I like it. I like it.
Sorry for the tangent, folks.
Nope, we're good. Morning comes at last. You guys all awaken to the sound of roosters crowing. 3 times. No. To the sound of roosters crowing outside. Even though the shadowed light, and at least there is light. And you guys see the creaking cracks of light that go through the wooden shutters of each of your windows. And there, as you roll over, not fully really sure what time of day it is, there's a little sense of, at least once again, a sun has risen, whether it may not be as bright as it normally is. There's like a little whisper at your door, Retno.
Young sir, are you awake? I don't want to disturb.
Yes, it's quite all right. Please,
The
feel free to enter.
The door opens and Bardas walks in.
Is everything all right?
Yes, everything is just fine now.
Your friends are still asleep, just so you know. I didn't want to wake them.
Thank you.
Will they want breakfast?
That's a good question. I think, well, I know I would like some breakfast.
Of course. Damalis is preparing some porridge this morning. I just wanted to know what. Wasn't quite sure the state of affairs of your friends. They are trustworthy.
Oh yes, quite. They had a bit of a rough day yesterday.
Apparently. Who would have wasted good soup like that?
Well, unfortunately, it was necessary. Turns out it was not to be trusted.
We won't tell Damalis. I don't want her knowing that my nose has failed me for the first time in all of these years.
I shan't say a word.
My reputation is at stake. I trust in you.
We'd never want to sully your reputation.
Of course not. I will go and fetch breakfast for your friends then. I just wanted to check with you since we did not get the chance to speak.
That things were on the up and up, as it were.
Okay. I will see you at breakfast.
The rest of you kind of hear the open and close of one of the doors in the hallway and the shuffling of Bardas as he walks with dragging his feet along the floor with his slippers. And all of you awake. Unless there's anything major you're wanting to say or do in this morning, we'll just skip through.
Just a little thing.
Sure.
Themisto is going to engage in her usual prayer, putting the sword in a point of morning light, but with the diminished light, she will, like she has once or twice before, choose the spot where Phoebe was and Themisto herself was over the night, as that point of light for the prayer.
Nice.
And then just of note, Phoebe will pray to Apollo as she's begun doing the past bit. I don't even know how many days it's been now.
Okay.
And Themisto is What's the word for when you're like dialed in,
Focus.
right? Like you're ready to do a thing.
Um.
It's like, okay, it's
Amped.
go time.
In the zone.
This is I'm serious,
Yeah.
but also putting my energy into readiness. There's a word in English for it that I just don't know right now.
Amped, prepped,
But
prepared.
that's it. So that's the face that she has, that look.
Okay. All right. Even during breakfast, as you sit around these small, like, it's not like a chair and table kind of breakfast. It's the kind of just small little setting on the ground, kind of sitting on pillows and such. There's that look of determination on Themisto's face that she's
Thank
seen.
you.
You're welcome. That seems to be very pointed in whatever is coming or whatever is being done. And despite all of that, breakfast seems kind of quiet. Your host's family does not do a whole lot of talking, as there seems like they can read the room and the focusedness of it. During said breakfast, you do have Davos and Xanthus that come in and check on you. Both of them looking a little on the weary side.
Oh, they don't know, do they? They weren't there.
No, they
Mhm.
were watching outside. I will say that Davos, is he focuses on you guys, and he kind of leans over and whispers into Themisto's ear. Mistress, I do not know what you have intended for the day, but General Peleos awaits you outside.
No, this is good. And she'll reach up and put a hand on his back, kind of pat it. Thank you.
Of course. We
You and your brother are going to die from overexertion. I need to make sure that you are getting rest.
we have been sleeping plenty. We watched over the house in shifts. I have some concerns about Sparta, though. Something flies overhead at night. We could not see it. It was too dark, but we could hear the sounds. He looks over at Xanthus, who has the equivalent of like that like bouncing foot thing going on as he's like standing there. There's a little bit of like nervous leg fidgeting and watching over you, but then also looking like he's replaying the memories in his mind a little bit, like he's just in that like zone in, zone out, zone in, zone out kind of thing. Xanthus says it reminds him of the other night on the boat. The same sounds of flapping and flying. But we saw no evidence and we heard nothing aside from the beating of wings, large ones. Speaking with the general, we don't know if anything came of it, but I have a feeling that there are dark forces at work. That much I think you already know, but whatever is happening in Sparta is concerning. I know that the general wishes to take you before the kings. Perhaps I do not know. I want you to tell the truth, but it has been some time since we have been here, and
Something does not sit well with me.
I will use my discretion then. Thank you.
He
This
bows.
is your home. I trust your judgment about it.
He, like, in the midst of doing a low, like, bow toward you, he looks. You see his ears kind of like twitch, and perk when you say that, as he like leans up again. He immediately stands and like straightens his tunic and self up a little bit and looks at Xanthus, and there's like a little bit of a psst sound. They kind of just like start to head out the door. Cypress, what were you gonna say?
Was Cypress near enough to overhear at least part of that conversation?
Not really, because he was whispering it to Themisto particularly.
Okay.
For the most part, you can make a perception check to see if you did overhear it.
Yes, please. Even just part of it, but that's a nat 1, bringing it to a 0. So no.
That's fair.
Never mind.
But yeah, this was kind of like a whisper to Themisto particularly.
Cypress
Arthur.
accidentally like drops a spoon and it clangs super loud. Sorry.
Are the host and hostess present currently?
No, they're staying out of your hair, so to speak.
We are scary brigands.
No, they're just, like I said, they read the seriousness of the tone this morning, and they just kind of decide not to try and make light of it, and they give you your space, bringing stuff as needed.
The mister's gonna take Phoebe's hand and look at the rest of everyone and say, "The general wants to speak to me and to bring me before the kings of Sparta. And this is a complication to acting fast, but at least we can get the support we need for this."
What do you want to do?
I feel like I can say no.
Cypress gets a concerned look on his face as he kind of looks down and trying to edge just a little bit closer, not out of earshot of the two Spartan allies in the room, but very aware that they are present. Cypress speaks up to Themisto. A poisonous thought occurs. I do not wish to spread an idea that is unfounded and would make things infinitely more complicated, but it did just occur to me. Are we sure we can trust the Spartan army in this situation?
They had our backs the night before, so I am wanting to trust them, and it is something that I think that we have little choice but to do. So,
Where you go,
Well-
I go.
in any case, the general is outside. We
All
have to get his help.
Let's be quick about it before morning services begin.
Absolutely. I do not want to waste any time.
And you don't.
As soon as this does not serve my purpose, I will leave.
You quickly finish up the rest of your meal. Give your goodbyes to your hosts. The polite. There's a word in Spanish, despedidas, is just like your
but I can't think of the proper word in English. It's just like, it's kind of like saying your goodbyes, but it's more of like you're excusing yourself for the time being.
Mhm.
And as sure as Davos has said, once you go outside the gates of the small villa here in the city of Sparta, you see a dozen Spartans in fine regalia and the general that you had seen yesterday, the hobgoblin general Peleos, helmet in the crook, held in the crook of his arm. He looks over at each of you and gives a polite nod. I don't think he ever actually made contact with you yet the day before, Themisto.
I talked to him.
You talked to him.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I think Laertes was the only point of contact. So seeing you as you emerge, hood up, hood down.
I've been hood up for this interaction with our hosts, not to cause a stir.
Okay. The moment you walk outside, he takes to one knee and, does a little bit of a bow, a military kneeling stance, and his Spartan soldiers behind him follow suit. A honor it is to be amongst a Pythia to be here in the humble city of Sparta. I hope that your night's stay was pleasant enough despite the circumstances.
The Mister will bow low and go, I am a priestess, but a junior one. There is no need for this.
He stands. On the contrary, it would be a great dishonor to not give the proper respect to someone who is a mouthpiece for the gods that we dearly depend upon and worship. Even a junior one.
There is more trouble here than perhaps you knew before. The night was pleasant thanks to our hosts, but not because of the circumstances. Something requires your immediate attention.
I had a feeling this was such. I have arranged a meeting and I've told our kings, Xenophon and Menandros, that you would probably want to have words with them, as they obviously want to have words with you. If you would be so kind, I'm sure you have plenty you are wishing to do today. The temples will be brimming with people, and I'm sure that they would love a opportunity to gaze upon a Pythia to be. But I have a sense that the situation at hand has brought itself some complications.
These traditions and duties I do not overlook lightly, and I am small to be someone to refuse the audience with the kings of Sparta, so I shall go, but please, for your shop, where Orcos and his friends stay,
Yes.
no one must enter or leave that place. Not this morning. It's,
I'm having it watched. As far as the last report goes, no one has come or gone from the place throughout the night.
that is a small comfort, I suppose.
Well,
My companions, what do you say?
Where you go, I go.
We have early morning business to deal with before something goes awry. More awry.
the general looks over at you and raises an eyebrow. I have a feeling that you have much to say. Shall I double the watch on this house?
I look to the others in case they say something, but I do have more to add to that. I don't want to alert them more than we already have. But we need to know their movements before they start early service, before they feed people.
His face grows tight and his ears kind of like perk and then kind of go back, almost like not quite in like, you know, when like a horse gets mad and the ears go back kind of thing. It's kind of like it's starting to go back a little bit. I understand. A sense of secrecy is important here. I will send the Iron Shadow.
Sense of urgency as well.
Understood. Shall we away to
Should
the
they-
fortress?
Should they begin to have services while we're in conversation, may we be free to leave?
That I cannot say. The kings are generous and they are understanding, but it depends on the interaction, I suppose. For the most part, I do not see why not. But they might see it as an abrupt not quite offense, but it probably would not look very well.
Cypress leans over to Laertes. Could we forestall for an hour the meeting for the sake of our mission this morning?
Would it be possible to defer the meeting? Well, I'm looking to the Misto as well because they came to speak to her first.
Yes.
The Mister's, in this case, happy to let her party members intervene,
Mhm.
because she knows what she wants to do, but she is so, her name means bound by tradition, right? Like, she's gonna go meet the kings, if nobody stops her. So she's glad that this is going on.
Mhm.
Yes, General, I feel that we may be able to give more complete information to the kings if we may hopefully
about our
resolve
business.
this. Yes, shut down the furrier shop, so to speak.
Do you expect violence?
I hope not. But it's good to be prepared for.
Please understand that whatever we may undertake is not for our benefit, but for the benefit of the populace. Of Spartan populace.
Make a persuasion check.
I can attempt to do that.
Can I help?
Can you?
It's a nat 20 for a 24, so
Never mind.
Hey,
if you want to help, you could like make me
Maybe-
look sparkly. I don't
Yeah.
like
the philosopher does some good word stuff.
it's the only nat 20 I'll ever get when talking, I guarantee it, despite what his purpose is. I'm sorry, we were looking for a nat 30. Get out.
If there is violence to be expected, I'm going to have to insist that the Spartan army become involved. You may be this. He looks over at Themisto. You may be a Pythia to be, but a Pythia to be entering a city and in the midst of a situation as there is now, and violence erupts in a quarter of the city that has been, for the most part, peaceful up until now. It may cause more problems than you realize that you are solving. But I also do not know the extent of the situation. I know that this Orcos has been speaking blasphemous words, but up until now, him and his followers have been peaceful. They have done nothing but speak.
No one
they
can
haven't.
eat the food anymore.
And why is this?
I gesture for him to step forward. I imagine this man just towers over me, despite he's thin, but he's not like a short man. But this, I imagine the Spartan general is just like 18,000 feet tall, and I'm assuming he like kind of bends down just at the waist, patiently, and I try and whisper into his ear if he lets me. How do you solve an escalating population problem and a growing lack of food problem?
A lack of food? I am unaware of such a thing.
Outside the city,
The,
farms are failing. Crops, animals.
this is true. But Sparta has prepared for famines before.
What I'm proposing is they're solving their problem by culling the population to feed the rest.
Do you have proof of this?
I burned the proof with a coin for Karen.
The proof lies in their house. In their cauldrons.
If things are as you say, which I am not doubting that you are not telling the truth as you see it, or have seen it. He says this last part, looking at the Misto. Then it is even more important that the Spartan army take care of its own.
I understand the implications of a vigilante priestess from Delphi taking matters into her own hands. Believe me, I would not be acting as I am if I did not believe it was of the most critical importance.
And what is it you intend to do about this? No offense, but I do not see particularly well-trained individuals prepared to deal with wayward cultists.
Since it doesn't reveal her godhood to reveal her oddhood, the Misto will take down her hood and show her snakes to the general. I am not just a priestess.
No, you are not. I have heard stories of the Gorgani, but I never expected to see one in my lifetime. The kings are expecting you. That much I can say for a certainty. If I go to them empty-handed, but with a message that you are going to be arriving, they will be waiting and expecting you. I cannot change that. At the same time, I understand what you are trying to do is for the good of the people. I will send you a regiment to accompany you. But they will be the ones inspecting the house. If a foreigner was to invade a Spartan home, it would not look well.
The occupants, one of them, I believe, is a witch. She could warp the minds of your men.
You will find that Spartan minds are hardier than most. As I said, I will try and bide you time. I do have respect for what you are doing, but I must insist. We are already on the brink of chaos. It won't take much to tip the scales in their favor if something goes awry, and we are at least not present to tide it over. Or,
Yeah.
if you wish to speak to the kings and tell them everything that you know, perhaps they can lend more support and something in a more official capacity. But if you were to go on your own, you risk angering the kings of Sparta and endangering whatever relationship might be forming between a Pythia to be and the city-state of Sparta.
Yes. Yes. Themista will look to her companions with a pained expression on her face. um, Being that there are geopolitical ramifications to everything that she does.
I mean, so basically, so that you that way I'm speaking clearly and above table.
Mhm.
He's saying you can go. He will give you the regiment that he is traveling with to go with you, but they have to be the ones to enter the building first. Only because then it is more of a search thing for the Spartans and less problems. But if things go badly, it will look badly on the entire operation. Then the flip side being, we go and speak to the kings. They may allow you to go do something in a more official. We are working with the government. kind of
Exactly.
But
that was the tack that she was going to take next. It's like, okay, well, if I meet with them, could I gain their support for us leading this? But
Yeah, I think maybe we should go get a permit.
that's what it is exactly.
so either you both sides
I
have
have a
cons,
thought.
both sides have pros.
No,
If
I like
may-
it.
If I may split the difference a tiny bit. Pythia. You should see the kings. I can be waiting with the crowd. And I can try and speak if something happens.
Thank you, Laertes. This is not ideal, but I think it is the best hope we have at this time.
I understand.
Again, we cannot leave you alone there, Jace. You can do a lot, but you are better with someone to watch your back.
I shall go with him.
I know how to handle a crowd.
I think Retino and I might be better angled towards this. And I look to Cypress. Maybe while you're there, you could talk him into some armor.
Cypress looks a little downcast.
Cyprus,
understand.
think an official escort of the Pythia. A worthy job here.
It's true. I will respect everyone's wishes for this plan.
Will
I
there
just-
continue? Sorry, finish.
No. We have stalled so long already. But I will go.
Will there continue to be Spartans scattered amongst the edge? Should they need to move in and help?
Sorry, was that to me? If so, I
No,
missed
that
it.
was to the general.
That what? I'm sorry.
That there will continue to be Spartans scattered along the edge, ready to move in should the help be needed.
Yes. I currently have, I believe, 6 Spartans that are waiting in the opposing shadows around the buildings, just in case. But as I said, I will also send the Iron Shadow. They are a particularly crafty set of Spartans. Ones we do not use on many occasions, but they know how to
It must
get the job done.
be a truly elite group to be named after such a strong and rare metal.
It is quite impressive. Well, in that case, I will also send my regiment with you. They will not travel with you, just so you have your anonymity, but they will be there at your command. Pythia, to be.
General,
Let us make haste.
The Misto can reach out to Aretino and Laertes, but can neither of you reach back to us?
Not at such a distance.
And we must have faith. And speed.
Thank you for at least listening to what we had to say, General.
He just nods. Alrighty.
Mhm.
So, as the general leads Phoebe, Cyprus, and Themisto up towards the city center, there is a hill that sits in the center of the city where the fortress sits, a palace of sorts made into also a fortress. As you head in that direction towards the center of the city, Laertes and Aretino head towards the human quarter of Sparta in hopes to catch them before mass, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
And on,
Mass cannibalism.
and on that note, we will be right back as we are going to go to break and wet our whistles. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
gotta stand
Okay.
by.
Okay,
Get rid of
I
it.
know. Be gone, foul
it.
demon! See, my favorite part of this is that because it was Themisto that says it, I'm just imagining all the snake eyes going like, psst, and then like just like a focused Death Star laser beam goes out, and then the bot just goes, a la Alderaan, rip Alderaan, but still.
Rest in peace.
Rest in pieces. All 400
Whatever you do, I'm not
bajillion of them.
It did happen a long,
still-
long time ago.
It's,
Oh.
Very far away.
it's not too soon. It can't be at this point. My favorite joke about that whole thing is the Death Star, or sorry, the Empire wanting to alert to the galaxy that it was a birth announcement.
Oh no, not a gender reveal party. Gone wrong.
The Empire would.
The Empire would.
So if the Death Star shoots a red laser,
What did green mean?
Check later.
No.
Check later.
Aaron, are you snacking
We're not
on
going to
gummy
assign our
worms?
child their
Magic
gender
8-ball.
at birth.
No.
thank you.
I can't figure out what you're eating.
Human.
Oh, okay.
Oh no. It's okay. It's twins. Martell for the win. Bravo, my
Witness the
friend.
birth. Witness the
Bravo.
birth of my new empire.
Bravo. It's twins. That was brilliant. Okay. Brilliant.
That's the real reason why you keep us all around, for the Star Wars discourse.
Oh my gosh.
Can I spend channel points to give inspiration to Martell?
Yes.
He can try and use it tomorrow.
I was gonna say he might need it tomorrow.
Okay.
I
If
still
you've
haven't
just
decided.
joined us, vampire tomorrow, but back to D&D.
Oh, yes.
How some of that might work, yeah.
That would be interesting, right? Too soon, Rip Alderaan. Thanks, Pip. Forever remembered. I am inspired. I just imagine him going. I imagine Martell doing the Elmo in the flames, just going. I am inspired.
I mean, he can try, but he'll resemble a Muppet tomorrow if he does it.
Ow! Okay. Right now in Laertes, your travel to the human quarter is tense. The more you walk in that direction, the more you see the streets are filled with people. And it's not that... It kind of reminds you when you were in Kaipantha a few days ago. The streets are just filled with people. It doesn't look like they have anywhere to go, some of them. And you imagine that that's because some of them, having fled from the nearby villages and countryside, are just finding themselves in a city without really a purpose or aim. So you see a lot of people that are just kind of like leaning up or sitting against buildings. Some of them look scared. Some of them look unsure. Many of them stare up at a sun that is floating in the sky with very much half the amount of light and power that normally it would. It hasn't grown any dimmer, but the ability to look up at this orb, no different than us looking up at a dim light bulb in our ceiling, is a testament to the fact that something is amiss. The clouded shadows that this light casts around the city itself doesn't necessarily render it in any sort of black and white monochromatic view. You still see colors and stuff, but it definitely has the 300 the movie 300 style, like change in coloration, so everything seems a little more muted. Everything seems a little like
Sepia tone.
yeah, just a little bit.
Our abs are like really high def. Maybe
say,
this
at least
isn't so bad.
Just you wait till I channel divinity.
Yeah, but when it's at night, it looks like Getty Prime.
Ooh. Oh, that was a beautiful, beautiful image. Okay. Eventually you find yourself approaching the area, the same neighborhood that the day before you had seen this mass crowd gather. The fountain sits there in its center. There's people that walk around, but there doesn't seem to be a crowd gathered at the moment. And your eyes scan back and forth looking for any sign of anyone that looks familiar. Where are you guys posting up at the moment?
Before I get to that, can I say I casted a different spell before I left the house?
Sure.
Fortune's favor.
Hmm.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll leave that to Aretino.
Like the fountain's like the only place to sit in here.
There's
right?
like a couple of like little side benches, a couple of box like crate sort of situations. This area seems to be less marketplace, more residential area. So, you know, there's like little benches on the side for people to sit by some,
Okay.
you know, overhanging awnings and stuff. But there's not like a cafe that you can kind of like post up at or anything in this area.
Yeah. Okay. So, here's what I'm thinking, and tell me what your take on this is. You can communicate over short distances?
By speaking.
Okay, very well. Thinking we could post up at different benches somewhat nearby to each other just to give us different eyes on different perspectives and try to look innocuous until something happens.
That makes enough sense to me.
And whatever that may be. Now, if I could I could play a calming tune and just sit over there pretending as though I'm practicing my playing, I can grant an aid in this process to anybody to resist anything that might let them lose control of their mind. Anyone who can hear me. I don't think that would draw too much attention.
No, and the benefit far outweighs the risk. No, that works for me.
Then, if I do see anything, you may hear my voice in your mind. It may be startling.
Well, I am so warned.
Yeah, then I guess I'm just going to post up somewhere nearby and just play a calm little... Not trying to draw a crowd or anything. And just keep a counter charm going until I decide to do something else.
Heard.
Dope. I guess what I'll do is, before newspapers and smartphones were invented, people kind of just sat on benches and kind of spaced out. People watched, and it was pretty commonplace. TV had not been invented yet. The attention span had not been diminished. People kind of just sat in public and thought, looked around, taking the sights.
You, as you do so, take in the sights and sounds of the day. As you hear the birds chirping, the wind blowing through the trees, everything sounds normal. If it wasn't for all of the information that's in your head that you know hides just behind that veneer, just behind that surface of what is visible to the eye. You look over at the shop where where Themisto had entered. You look over at that shop. The doors the doors closed, the windows shuttered. You look over at some of the houses that are literally up adjacent to it, and they too have doors and windows shuttered, and you get a sense of and not necessarily that there is poverty in this place, but it is obviously not a well-to-do section of the city like you had seen on the opposite side. And these thoughts kind of ruminate in your mind as you sit and you wait for whatever's going to happen next. For the other three, Themisto, Cypress, and Phoebe, it is not too far of a walk. It's almost about the same, actually, walk that you would take from either going to that side of the city, the human quarter, to the very center of the city, where, like I said, there is a hill that rises and overlooks the entirety of the rest of the city of Sparta that kind of encircles this place. It is the only place where there looks like there is some sort of fortification here, and it is this palatial estate. And you pass... as you are walking, the general kind of stays quiet as he guides you with along the way. You see the people do move aside for him as he is a recognizable figure. Some of them watching you as you go by, not necessarily in a who is that kind of thing, but in a curiosity of who this general is leading in such a very direct and obviously he's like obviously going somewhere and you guys are obviously following him. So there's a little bit of that curiosity of like who you are. And you are a very varied group. This one person that I would imagine that Themisto, you kind of stand in the center behind the general with Phoebe and Cypress on either side. And there is a little bit of curiosity to you as you're being led by a hobgoblin like general to the king. And on either side of you, these golden-haired individuals and the one woman who has a priestly-like garb with hood pulled forward. You are a curious sight, but not one that causes alarm, just a curiosity. You walk up the path that leads to this fortress, and you see that there are the Spartan guards now more prominent and more in place closer to this fortress as you wind your way up the path that goes side to side up to the top of this fortress. It is not too long before you find yourself within its walls. We spoke earlier about the fact that Sparta itself doesn't have walls. It is viewed as a weakening thing to have walls around your city. If your own soldiers cannot protect your city, why bother, basically? So for a lot of Sparta, it doesn't have walls, but this fortress has, like a palace would, some sort of fortifications, even if they aren't necessarily the more classical style of most places. It's strange that this fortress also doubles as a palace, because it does have more of a military style, almost barracks-like look to it, versus what you would normally imagine a palatial estate would look like. I guess, honestly, the only palace you've probably been to had been the one in Ilum, in the one time that you guys had been there not too long ago. And this is a very far cry, a very different space altogether than what you are normally used to seeing. And you go inside of the fortress gates, and in a large courtyard that is mostly outdoors, you see on the back side a awning with a little platform where the two thrones of the kings of Sparta sit. There's a couple of individuals that look like they are in the process of having discussions with the kings, but as you approach, all attention turns to you. And those before the kings part ways, and you see on one side the human king Menandros. I guess the closest approximation I can give is a slightly less razzled version of do you guys know who King Boomy is from the Earth Kingdom in
How
so
dare you ask that question? Of course.
Okay, Laertes is unsure, but he's human. He's got a little bit of a bald spot. His hair kind of comes off to the sides a little bit. Doesn't look as crazy. Just looks a little more on the normal side, but still in a He's definitely probably late 50s, early 60s. In that he kind of almost is like if Boomy mixed with, you know, those guys that spend way too much time at the beach. They like have basically retired at the beach now, and their like skin is leathered beyond like recognition, but yet they look like all they do is like they hang out at the beach and they work out because they're buff still, even if they are later in years. That is kind of secret test of Aaron's. Yes, exactly.
Secret.
You like that's what the human guy looks like. Looks like he's been in the sun. He looks like he could probably deadlift most of you with like one hand, but also has that like agedness to him, to where he looks, you know, wise in human terms, if maybe a little on the like way out. The Hobgoblin King, King Xenophon. His dark red skin almost mirrors that of his human counterpart, but his, you know, is more of the coloration of their people, less so just way too much time spent in the sun. He also is large and impressive in physique. His hair is blackened and kind of falls down around his head in almost a lion's mane. His ears like poking out off the sides in little tufts. Both of them don't really wear a crown, like in the normal sense that you would imagine, like when you think of meeting kings. In fact, very little of them gives the appearance of being royalty in any form. It's more the fact that their armor just looks nicer than everybody else around them, less so that they are wearing any sort of regalia. The general approaches King Xenophon and King Menandros. My kings, I come before you now bringing with me an esteemed guest, one that has traveled from faraway places and has managed to find themselves in our city during this time of unease. May I present to you the Pythia to be. And then he like stands aside and gestures to you, Themisto.
Themisto will bow. Deeply again. I am Themisto of Delphi. I will be Pythia one day if that is the people's wish, yes. These are my companions, who, as they are with me, their words carry no less weight. Phoebe of Corinthos, Cypress of Thebes.
You see both kings kind of do a slow nod of acknowledgement to both of you. And it is Xenophon, the Hobgoblin King, that speaks first. Welcome to this city of ours, Pythia to be. What brings you to the land of Sparta?
My kings, I was engaged in my pilgrimage as is needed by all who would seek the title of Pythia. And the darkness which started to overcome the skies, I, as a priestess of Apollo, could not ignore it. And the signs told me that Sparta was at the center. I know this is a worrying thing to hear, but I must speak the truth.
The human king speaks.
It is true that it has been a worrying time with the dimming of the sun. But aside from a little bit of darkness and some worrying words and news from the countryside, do you see this as a act of divine retribution?
These are not the works of Apollo, but I can tell you one thing that is certain to me. Themisto will notice that Phoebe looks like she has something that she needs to say and will pause.
No, can I insight check both of them as they're speaking with the Misto? Specifically because we know there is someone in the cult who can charm.
Sure.
That is only a 10.
From this distance, they're pretty hard to read.
And a darkness in the skies, it is mirrored by a darkness that pervades, secretly growing in the shadows here in Sparta. It carries a veneer of comfort for the people, but it also brings auspices of trying to undermine your power. It is a desperate situation, a desperate one where people are being made to do inhuman things. And I mean that in like the, sense of all species on the earth that are bipedal and have brains.
Humanoid.
Yeah. There you go. It gets you. Make an insight check.
A natural 20.
For a total of.
For a total of. Well, then everyone's gonna know what my insight is. Oh no, for a total of 26.
26. All right, cool. I'm gonna send you a message real quick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I rolled it on the dice I got while visiting Dreamy.
I give you all my luck.
Thank you.
Wait, where did Iskra go? Hello.
I'm right here.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. It's because I'm not used to looking for the image of Themisto. I'm used to looking for the image of Iskra.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's why I was like, hello. Okay. You see Menandros kind of cocks his head to the side. Speak. I mean no offense by this. But by what do you refer? What is happening in Sparta?
Orcos and his cult, if they mean to undermine the powers that exist here, trying to gain the trust of the people, and using a means that are truly vile. These handouts that they give to everyone. Where do you think they are getting all of this meat for their sandwiches and soups? Meat is something precious. It is something we sacrifice to the gods. and yet they have in abundance.
Menandros looks over to Xenophon. Xenophon stays looking at you.
To give for free.
Jamie, you have no idea how hard it was for me not to say Jason's Deli.
We're not sponsored.
But if you want
The
to,
cult of Orco,
Yet.
the cult of Phobos is just Arby's.
Yeah, get your human sandwiches from Arby's.
We have meat.
Menandros looks very much puzzled by this. He looks over at Xenophon. Orcos? The street prophet person that you spoke of? Menandros. And Xenophon, who was like watching you. These are very curious accusations for someone who, as I understand, has just been within our streets for a day. How do you know of this information?
As Orcos openly questioned Apollo, I found it was my duty to speak to him directly. You see, I understand this is your domain, my kings, but in this matter of the gods, I had to see for myself what he had to say. And there, when I was welcomed into what he now calls his home, I made some uncomfortable discoveries.
Menandros kind of looks back and forth between you and his counterpart.
You had said that he was not someone that we should be concerned with.
Why is this sounding more and more like something that we should definitely be concerned with? Xenophon. God, I'm gonna get this confused. Xenophon is does not look over at Menandros. He just stays looking at you, and then kind of just strokes his chin a little bit. General Pelios, you told me some of the things that this man Orcos has said. While yes, he does say things that are rather blasphemous, he has yet to my knowledge, say anything to rile the people against us, unless something has changed recently. You see Menandros again, just like, were you planning on telling me any of this? But Menandros is, Xenophon just seems to be having a one-on-one conversation with you. You see the, what?
Since both Phoebe and Cypress were there for the interaction in the square, and also heard what Orcos was saying to everybody, particularly about those in power and the wealthy trying to placate and pacify when really you should be, doing what you want and, because doom is coming, like that, Themisto is going to be silent for a moment to see if either of her companions whose words have the same weight in this space, choose to say anything about it. Hint.
You said you're deferring to us?
Yes. Just right now we're in a part of the conversation where
Sure.
you guys were both there too.
Cypress is, for one thing, through this whole conversation, has seemed to be clearly containing anxiety and containing some frustration and eagerness. And at this turn of the conversation, he's now staring directly at Xenophon. And clearly some gears are turning in Cypress's head. And reaffirming something that he was thinking about before as being a potential problem. And he will, still kind of keeping his eyes on Xenophon, he will lean over to Themisto and just say, "There were no hobgoblins in the stew." Correct me immediately if that was wrong, because that's an important thing to say. DM, was that
I never
incorrect?
specified.
You never specified. Okay.
I just said people.
Okay. I thought it was human meat.
I don't think I specified.
All right.
It's just that they were that there was individuals.
Nix that last statement, but Cypress still has been staring very pointedly at Xenophon throughout this anyway, and he has some suspicions regardless of that
Yeah.
adjusted information.
Yeah.
They spoke out against the rich, that those with wealth were trying to placate those they saw beneath them. They spoke that if the world was ending, why live with rules and obligations? There may not be any unrest yet, but it is coming. In addition to the way that they have defiled your city and those that listen. They're not only speaking out against the gods, they are desecrating your town.
There is one key thing that we have not yet said, because it is so horrifying that it is hard for it to pass our lips.
The both kings kind of like hang on your words, leaning forward just a little bit to see if you indeed will say this thing.
Alright, who wants to be the one?
Cypress will speak up. There are remains of your people in the food being handed out to the people, my kings.
There's definitely a little bit of a murmur and gasp to the people that are around, the soldiers, those that were speaking with the kings before. You see Menandros' eyes kind of widen a little bit. And he looks over at Xenophon, and Xenophon still calm and scrutinizing. He looks over Cypress from head to toe. Each time any of you have spoken, he has scrutinized every little detail about you. He's like studying, watching, looking for something. Menandros seems to be the one to be more outraged by this.
Can I inside check? Oh, their names are just... My brain is...
Human King, Hobgoblin King.
Hobgoblin King. Can I insight him one more time to see if this seems
Menandros
like...
for man.
Yep.
And Xenophon for Xeno.
this is new information to him? Or maybe he's trying to hide that it might not be new information.
Sure.
I know I had a poor insight check, but I was wondering if I could again. Okay, much better. 25.
25.
Oh, I get the message.
Okay, yes, you are getting the message. You said 25, right?
Yes.
Um. That's not how you spell that. Okay. Menandros looks for the first time down at the ground. I'm afraid this falls out of my jurisdiction. I feel that this is something that... Menandros, what would you advise? Menandros is like,
What do you mean? What would I advise? I want to get to the bottom of this. I want to know the truth.
if this is indeed happening in my city, in our city, how much of this did you know already? I had not heard this last few details, but I had heard the words. We have, as I'm sure you are aware, Pythia to be, we have been watching this man to see how far he would go. And up until now, we have not seen anything that would suggest an uprising. He looks at Phoebe. Or that he is cannibalizing his own people, our people. He looks over at Cypress. Only that he speaks out against the society that he finds himself in. But this is not anything new. Words against society have been going and been spread since the beginning of civilization, since the fall. There will always be those who defy those in power, who decree themselves the voice of the people. And during times of great famine, it is not unrecorded that there is desperation that happens in even the most civilized of places. Not to make light of this situation, as it is truly a heinous act. But if indeed these things are happening, and I believe the Pythia to be an honest individual, and her companions, I have seen no lie in their faces, no deceit behind their eyes. If you are to be Pythia, how would you advise that we take care of this situation, while keeping in mind the city of Sparta is a unique place? My people and the people of Menandros, we have been living in coexistence for a very long time, but it was not without its problems at first. And it will continue to not be without problems. It is always a push and a pull, a give and a take. Bear this in mind if you were to cast judgment over someone that speaks out against a king, against someone who is better off. Would not us, judging harshly in this situation, acting rashly in a situation such as this,
not be playing into the very hands that they are claiming us to be?
Apithia, my role would be to present what I see and to allow the receiver of the information to interpret what they should do with it as they see fit. And Pythia does not lead the world, only helps to guide. But you know this, of course. However, as I am not yet Pythia, I can say this. The situation you are facing, it is a challenging one if there was not the undercurrent of evil that is sown into everything that they do by way of what they are distributing, what they are allowing people to consume. If you show this, and it will be a hard thing, to the people, if you make it known, and you put a stop to it now, that is how they remain on your side. How it is not a harsh thing that you do, but the right thing that you do. In taking decisive action, in disallowing this to continue. But you must be truthful about it all. If you try to hide the harsh truth, as distasteful as it is, I believe in the long run it will only be to your detriment. But the important thing is action.
Xenophon sits back in his chair and seems in considering your words. Menandros leans forward. And what action would you suggest?
The companions I travel with have been chosen for me by the gods. We must go and handle this. Yes, I know it is, but I have seen it. And she's gonna leave it ambiguous as if, oh, well, maybe I prophesized that I saw that this is the case.
Cypress has this big frown on his face, and he speaks up again. With all due respect, Your Highness, is this question a test for the Pythia to be, or is it because you do not know?
Which king are you addressing this to?
The one who asked what would
What they should
Themisto do in this situation.
The human king looks at you. I suppose you could say the question is both. I'm curious to know what the Pythia to be would advise in such situations. I myself have my own ideas as to how I would handle this. And he looks over at Xenophon in a very accusatory look. Although clearly some things have been kept from me as to their seriousness. If indeed you and your companions were sent by the gods as you have seen, Lady Themisto, then I ask that you bring us proof. Bring before us this Orcos. or proof of his misdeeds.
Phoebe is going to let herself start to glow. Blessed is the faith of those who walk without proof. But if you need proof that we are here for a reason, that light will conquer the darkness that has taken your town.
There's a couple of shuffles backwards away from you as you begin to glow. You see Menandros' eyes kind of squint a little bit at you, and then an eyebrow raise. Xenophon, still leaning back and stroking his beard, looks at you and then puts his hand down. Pelios. He turns to his general. Pelios. See to it that this Pythia to be has the backing she requires to bring us this proof. We are not to condemn a man to death without first knowing the severity of his crimes. It is not the Spartan way, and I do not intend to make it a Spartan way. He will come before us and face a tribunal, so that the people may see how evil or innocent this man may be. Is this agreeable to you, Pythia? To be?
Yes, my king, we will find this proof that you seek.
Find this proof, and you will have the backing of Sparta for your journey to be an oracle of all of the Hellenes. You see Menandros kind of going back and forth, looking between you and him, and it's like, then just kind of nods. But he's kind of like still glaring at his hobgoblin compatriot. Go! Go.
Okay, yeah, I'll have the Mister actually ask. Do we go with your blessing as well? Sparta's tradition, of course.
There is a little bit of a smile that comes to Menandros' face as you direct it in his direction as well. Yes. Yes, of course. And you I will have words with later. He looks over at his companion.
And then we go. I am sorry for these tidings being the backing of our first meeting. But we will see justice done.
Indeed. Hopefully you bring us better tidings upon your return.
And Themisto will again bow deeply and do like the backwards walk out of the space deferentially until meeting such a point as she can turn.
Okay.
Still kind of glaring at King Xenophon. Cypress's eyes will flash and he will divine sense the room.
Okay. What is it again?
I can sense anything affected by the Hallow spell, or know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet that is not behind total cover.
Okay. You.
This is both to detect as well as just to display as
Yeah,
a
I was
farewell.
gonna say, with the Mista there in the center, she does this bow. One side, Phoebe is like has this glow to her skin, definitely bringing a little more color in a sense to the environment around you. And then next to you, Cypress's eyes begin to also shimmer in this golden light as he then like looks to each individual person that's standing around the room, the various generals, lieutenants, commanders, and captains, the two kings, their attendants, all of them kind of see this and take not necessarily a step back, but definitely kind of like take into account that this is real, I guess. That is not just the words of a priestess invoking divine name or divine favor. This is being verified, so to speak.
She might actually be walking around with like Athena and Ares secretly.
Right. There's not much. The general bows. General Pelios bows. You see a man that was standing amongst the group walk up to the human king, and you assume by his regalia that he is the General Philogos, the human equivalent of your of Pelios that has been guiding you, your guide. He goes over and like it looks like he's talking to Menandros. Cypress, you don't get a sense of anything out of the ordinary amongst the people here.
Good to know. Doesn't detect enchantments or potential other things, but at least no one here is actually a god or a fiend.
Mm-hmm. As you are leaving this outer courtyard, go ahead.
As we leave the kings, Phoebe will let her light like flare up once more and then like withdraw it all back into her.
Okay. Walking you out, the general, once you are outside of the courtyard, away from the kings. Well, that went better than I expected, but also somehow worse for some reason. You have the blessing of the
Yeah,
kings.
that was my feeling too, General. I did not expect to use such harsh and direct words with them, but it is what came.
And it was what was needed. I only pray that there is not something else at work here. I will requisition another regiment. They will accompany us down to meet with your allies. Hopefully it is not too late. Is there
General,
yes.
may I ask you something candidly?
Of course.
King Xenophon, I got the distinct feeling that he knew something about this ahead of time.
To a degree. I have been informing him privately about the things that Orcos has been saying and what we have seen him doing. He gave me the orders not to tell King Menandros yet, as he feared that this would cause the start of a rift. But unfortunately, things came about as was feared. This
Why would... Sorry.
What were you going to say, Cypress of Thebes?
Wouldn't it be more likely that a rift would start from withholding information and being suspicious?
It's true. It is possible. But King Menandros has made it clear in no uncertain terms that he does not quite like the arrangement of two kings of Sparta. And seeing that a potential uprising amongst the human side of the population was a possibility, if indeed it was headed that way, we were trying to see if this was not something that Menandros was orchestrating himself.
Yeah.
His vehemence in wanting to put an end to this only makes things more cloudy, as he could be trying to cover his own tracks. He says this in a hushed tone as you guys are walking out of the fortress. He looks to Cypress and then stops and then looks at you up and down. Forgive me for being so bold, but perhaps it would be best in this situation that you wear something more appropriate. Come with me. I have an idea.
Cypress looks back at Phoebe and Themisto.
He's taking everybody with him, but he's specifically talking to you. Come with me.
Oh,
You're gonna get
cool.
your Iron Man suit.
Okay. As we switch scenes for a second, we're gonna go back to the
Snap back to reality. Oops,
Oh.
there goes gravity.
That's why Laertes is there.
And someone gets it. Hey,
Well,
Okay.
he's so mad, but he.
Laertes Noretano.
I've been dead for 20 minutes.
Yep, something like that.
You blink back to awareness.
There's Oretano has been playing his instrument, quietly plucking away for the last couple of minutes. We've been watching this house, and for you guys, we're basically starting right where we left off, as you guys had kind of sat where you were and found your little perches. People move about this area without really engaging too much with you. Finally, you see the door open to the furrier's place. The woman, fair and beautiful, that had been helping Orikos, steps out. She carries with her what looks to be an empty basket. She kind of she closes the door behind her. She places a hand on the door, and then turns around. She has a scarf around her. It's almost golden and red, the hair that she has. She pulls up this little scarf around her and closes it tight, and then grabs the basket from where it tipped over on the side. And it was indeed empty. And she picks it up, and then she seems to start to try and make her way towards the marketplace. Do either of you two guys try and do anything right away?
Not for me right away.
Okay.
Not right away.
I'll say she gets about 15 steps from the door before from a doorway that you hadn't even realized someone was standing in. Another individual peels off from the door and looks like he begins to follow her. You see almost like a poncho of cloth. And in the brief moment of him like moving, you see what looks like the flash of armor beneath covered cloth. Almost as if he'd been kind of like posting up incognito against the wall, blended in so much as to become almost invisible before peeling off and looking like he's following this woman. As she looks to be heading towards, for Retino, she is heading towards where the markets are. Both of you are kind of watching her for a minute. And from the other side, you hear a voice, Retino, as a young boy comes over to where you are seated, seeing the instrument. Hi.
Hello there.
What are you playing?
Oh, nothing in particular.
Do you know any ballads?
Do I assume that I probably would.
Probably.
Oh, I know a few.
Do you know any hymns?
A good handful.
Do you know any poems?
Gonna like, is this like? Can I make it like an insight check on this kid or something?
Sure.
It's like this. Is this like just a kid who's talking to the musician, or I don't know?
It could be vile
Not-
and monstrous, or it could just be a kid who going, but why?
Yeah,
But why?
I'm scared. It's like, did somebody like give this kid a copper and like go distract that guy? Is like I'm looking for something like that.
Sure.
I guess. Yeah, I know. Not awesome. It's gonna be a 11.
11.
That's how old the kid is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or he acts like he's 5, but that's never mind.
No songs. No.
11. Your eyes scan the immediate vicinity. You don't even know where this kid came from, but then you weren't really
Yeah.
paying attention for kids anyway. There's more than a few that are wandering around, some chasing a tightly bound leather ball, some
Yeah.
just, playing with sticks, asserting themselves as future Spartan soldiers. I'm assuming, Laertes, you make like eye contact, yeah?
A little bit. I'm trying not to let myself become too distracted. Because it's just, okay, I want to make sure that he's okay. I'll look around a little bit and just be returning attention back to him periodically. So that's when he gets shanked.
Yeah. I mean, Oretano has definitely like bribed a group of street urchins to go make a scene before. So like,
The hell is one of my friends here?
yeah.
Why don't you play me something?
Sure. Is there anything you want to hear?
Do you have a song to bring the sun back?
I'm working on one. And I have
Really?
a song that can make it feel like the sun's back.
Does that mean that it's going to get really hot?
You'll feel nice and warm and cozy on the inside.
Is that
Here,
what the
why
sun
don't you
does?
try it out? I'm gonna start playing in something different. I'm gonna keep doing what I was doing, but I'm just gonna play a different song.
He comes
Tell
up
the
and
kid it's for him.
he like sits next to you and like is watching you play.
Be something a little bit more lively, but not much.
He looks up at you and smiles. I like this song. It is a nice song. What is your name?
My name?
Yes.
My name is Oretano. What is yours?
It's not a very nice name. It's not like yours. It doesn't sound as good.
Sure, it's lovely.
I don't know. Maybe I won't tell you.
It's okay. You don't have to if you don't want to. But I'd like to know your name.
He reaches up and whispers in your ear. Nagoosh. And he gives you a kiss on
I
the
was
cheek.
suspicious of this child.
I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
You got it. Any kind of effect this is against, I have some benefits to things. I might not need it. That's a lot. 24, do it.
24 does beat what you need. So that would be... As he gives you a kiss on the side of the cheek. 18 points of psychic damage. As
You
that
got
is
it.
the halved version of the total that would have been given to you. Your... you feel the sudden synaptic like pain that goes through your head as he backs up and then runs towards the furrier's house.
I don't think he gets very far because I strike a harmonic chord and cast Levitate on the child.
Okay. There is a moment where he lifts into the air. What is the
There's a Constitution saving
Constitution
throw.
save?
DC 15.
There is a moment where his body goes. He's running and he's like running, scurrying towards what looks like the back of the house. He lifts into the air and like tumbles forward with the momentum into where his eye. He kind of like starts to like not necessarily T-pose, but kind of T-poses, looks at you, and then continues to fall towards the ground as he uses a legendary resistance to succeed on the saving throw.
Well, we got one of them out of the way.
And he continues to run towards the house.
It's just-
Do I get
message.
the impression that that's...
Do you know a Nagoosh?
Sorry, he says this to me?
Yeah.
I message you that.
Yeah. I also levitate the child.
Well, we will get to that next week when we come back.
Oh man.
Man, of all the people for that to happen to, Orendo's the funniest because a random street urchin kid is like, "Do you play music?" News.
I feel like Nagoosh is the sound he makes when he kisses him on the cheek.
I had to scramble through my notes, and it's been since April since we met Nagoosh.
So 4 days ago.
I feel like Oretano's response to this is, we at last meet for the last time. The first time.
Oh,
And T is the hymn of death, so him asking about music
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was like, there's an intent here.
Oh yeah. Is
Gosh.
immediately suspicious of this child.
I mean,
I
not
thought he was
all.
going to say Phobos.
Not all of my children are evil. I mean,
They're either evil or they get brought
it's
on
even split.
non-age appropriate adventures.
Yeah, I mean, just as soon as he didn't want to tell me his name, I was like, "There's something's up here."
Don't be suspicious.
don't be suspicious.
I mean, I feel like we've always been a little suspicious of children in your games for a variety of reasons.
They're just so much fun. That's all. I don't know.
You're so good at playing them.
Just rock back and forth, creaking chair
Man.
and everything.
The chance of mind control and shape-shifting, impersonation, possession, all that stuff sure makes politics more complicated. Because, like, are you just a bad person, or are there several layers of magic?
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess
Not that he's necessarily a bad person, but you know
Well,
what
I
I mean.
think I know why the sun's not shining here.
Well, I
wanted
can't
to,
wait
like-
to tie that particular bow.
I wanted to run up to the king and like, be free! And give him, like,
He just look at you like, the fuck?
I heal you.
Which
in the
is
name
wonderful
of
if they
Aphrodite.
are charmed, and awful if they're not.
I thought you were gonna go full like Gandalf, King of the
That's what I
Rohirrim
was
out of
thinking.
Berserk.
I will draw you, Nagoosh, as poison is drawn from a wound.
Is your man okay? Is like the water bad in Thebes, or
I'm from an island.
Hey, me too.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, that's gonna be fun. Fun way to start. All sorts of shenanigans next week. But don't worry, the cavalry's on the way. Or something.
Across town.
Just let him turn to monster form before you like grievously wound him, because I feel like that could cause some problems for
That
us.
guy just hit
So-
a kid!
so here's
I
the
feel
funny
like
thing about
levitate was a
that.
pretty good move.
Yeah.
There's a thing I can do now.
Uh-oh.
There's a hilarious smattering of things I can do now.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's also hilarious the idea of if for some reason attacking, damaging, knocking out, killing, whatever the child shape doesn't like automatically revert it in the process. That you have a dead child on the floor and then it just suddenly explodes into black ooze. And Laertes is like, I did not do that.
This time.
I can just hear Tali going, something is wrong.
Beautiful.
Maal's gonna be sad she missed this.
Yeah, where's our note taker?
She's eating people stew because she's a lizard person.
Yeah, like that's normal for her.
Laertes, are you willing to represent yourself in Spartan Court?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Because I feel like I'm going to be inventing the legal system there, so
Once again, happy Mythiversary. Happy birthday, Tara, on Saturday. And join us tomorrow for some vampiric hunting.
Yep, I'm sure.
And back here Tuesday next week to see what happens.
As we,
See us.
Hannah, I
to
hope you're
see
still
the
watching.
child.
As we, like apparently the bards did this week, fight kids in the street.
It's,
We will learn them to
I-
not be kissing strangers in the street. That's very dangerous for children to do and not okay.
I mean, I've seen that episode of Always Sunny where they just fight the kids, and it's like, you know what? Once you get past your 30s, you kind of get it.
Alrighty. Well,
Give me like a group of maybe like 6-year-olds, and maybe I can take them. But
I don't know. I have a 6-year-old, and
that's fair.
oh, it's fine. It's fine. What could possibly go
they'll
wrong?
just hurt your feelings, and then fight you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you next time. So, stay, blah, blah, blah. Be brave, stay fey, bunny spread.
And
The
no
same-
sleep for you.
The safe word is mango. No sleep for me?
No soup for you.
Oh, no soup for you. Oh, yeah.
More
yeah.
like no goosh.
No goo. Oh, I hate that.
No goosh.
I hate that. Bye, guys.